Today's show is sponsored by Squad QL. You want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league? Well, look no further than Squad QL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals this year. Squad QL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. Head to squadql.com to download the app for free. Again, that's squadql.com to download the app for free.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Redraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome into the show. The world is upside down.
It is very much upside down. I had
Go Bills, go Bears, go Rams, go Jags.
Hey, don't leave the Jets out of this.
Go Jets.
They were great.
Go Colts.
Oh, man.
I was considering last night, do I whip up some synthesizer Stranger Things? I sounded like
Just an absolutely insane week of football.
Reminds us, you know nothing.
Apparently,
These weeks happen from time to time. Those ridiculous outlier crazy weeks where and to be fair, football was awesome this weekend. Like, these games were incredible. The finishes of all the morning games. I mean, if you just want enjoyment watching football, it was great. But talk about a wacky world of outcomes.
I just think when weeks like this happen, and they do happen all of the time, you do have these outlier games, and it just shows you that the difference between a good NFL team and the worst of the worst NFL teams is actually razor thin. I think that's the reality. If you do not go out and execute, I mean, look at the game that we got in New England. We didn't even mention that one. New England won that game, but Houston came out and played incredibly. I'm just shocked and amazed at all of the things we saw. And even Minnesota, against what we thought was a stout Bucs defense, Minnesota with Case Keenum takes care of business. We're questioning all the things we think we know about some of these players, and we have a great show. We're going to get into the Fantasy Rewind. We're going to talk stud muffins, the mini pooped in their big boy pants players. I'll share some of our tales from this weekend, and then we have a great quick question on the show today, so I'm very excited. You can find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We are the Fantasy Footballers, Andy, Mike, and Jason. Jason is at JasonFFL. Mike is at FF Hitman. I'm at Andy Holloway. Mm-hmm. And the website's thefantasyfootballers.com. All right, quick question of the day. Let's pretend we are drafting right now, right here, with every injury and situation that we know about. If we could redraft the top 3 running backs, you're on the clock, you need to select them right now. Who are they for you?
Just for clarity, is this like if we could do it over and we get these first 3 weeks, or this is week 4 on?
The draft is today.
Okay.
David Johnson is hurt. All of those things have happened, and we are drafting right here, right now. I've got my list. Do you guys want to share yours?
Sure thing.
We actually our lists are very similar.
Okay, let's just go through. I think Lev Bell is the number 1 pick still.
He would still be my number 1 pick. Too large a history of being dominant to ignore.
Yeah, he's my number 1 guy as well. The snaps are there, the involvement. The Steelers, I firmly believe that the Steelers offense will
figure it out.
I mean, we're only 3 games in. The season's very long.
Yeah. My second pick would be Kareem Hunt at this point. Kareem Hunt is the workload is unbelievable, and that's what you have to lean on. And we'll talk all about Chris Thompson. We'll talk all about some of these blowout players with smaller workloads, but I want to lean on Kareem Hunt. What do you guys think about your number 2 pick?
That's the clear number 2 right now. He's been so dominant. Every time you
even calling him the clear number 2, a lot of people would take him first.
Yeah. So, I guess I would say the clear, top tier, player to grab. His volume is assured. He's used in the passing game, and more than any of that, every single time he touches the ball, he never goes down on first contact. It's just he bounces around and has this balance that is unbelievable and gains another 4 to 40 yards after getting hit.
He reminds me of those, and he has big play capability, which is amazing. He reminds me of those, like, the bumpers when you play pinball. Like, he just hits and then bounces laterally, and his feet stay directly beneath him. It's pretty incredible. All right, so we all think we all have a different third pick. So I didn't realize we were going to be the same on the first two. So Levin, Kareem Hunt, what's the number 3 running back if you had to draft today?
I would still take Zeke, number 3. I know that week 2 was literally as bad as it can get for Zeke Elliott, and I guess technically you still have the suspension looming with the NFL. They were able to get their emergency court date coming up here in the next couple weeks. We know that he will play
the next
at least
2.
Well, so this week and next week, that's assured. He could get shut down after that, but I would still take Zeke as my third guy.
I would go with Dalvin Cook. I feel like Dalvin Cook is in a situation that's identical to Kareem Hunt, which is they lean on him. The workload is humongous. He has NFL talent, and so talent and opportunity tell me that here we are, two rookies in the top 3 picks for just proving that we knew somebody would do it.
And you could very well argue that Leonard Fournette should be here in
the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, I mean definitely in the top 5. But you could say who would you rather have between Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette? That 2 different people would take a different one. I'm going to go with Ty Montgomery as that third guy. Very similar to Dalvin Cook in the fact that he is getting his utilization is unbelievable. Maybe even you could argue unsustainable because he's just being used so much. He's basically on the field almost every play. He leads the entire, all running backs in snaps right now. So that's somewhat similar to Dalvin Cook in utilization, but then he's got Aaron Rodgers and a really powerful offense that he is a part of. So and really Zeke would be that third pick for me, except for the possible suspension.
Some other honorable mentions. I think Devonta Freeman shouldn't be forgotten in that top group. He's been great this year. And what's crazy about Freeman is he's actually put up huge numbers, and he's done almost nothing in the passing game. I mean, 2 receptions, 3 receptions, yet still has scored in every single game. Kind of crazy.
Andy.
Yes, sir.
Got to ask, did you consider Todd Gurley?
Yeah, I mean, I think people probably would have expected me to mention Todd Gurley. In that top 5-6 consideration for sure. I'd take Freeman over Gurley still. So,
yeah, if you got those, if this was like we're doing it from the beginning and you get these 3 weeks again, then Todd Gurley, he's scored so much in these 3 weeks, you'd want that. But his schedule coming up gets Dallas next week, which is absolutely fine, and then it's a rough 6 weeks.
Yeah, in Zeke's defense, he faced Denver, and Denver just did a good job of keeping LaShawn McCoy's fantasy numbers down once again. So let's go ahead and get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
Can we get a weekly fast forward? Can we maybe? No? All right. Randall Cobb didn't play on Sunday. Geronimo Allison was the big beneficiary of that situation, had a big game. Rob Kelley, Jordan Reed, both inactive. You saw Vernon Davis. Sometimes I wonder, just because of durability.
Why not play Vernon?
Sometimes I just wonder that. Like, I mean, he's always performed for Washington. I mean, and he was great. That seam route after the catch, still good.
He was a hot topic on yesterday's Periscope. People are like, what do I do with Jordan Reed? I said, you're fine, because just pick up Vernon Davis right now. It's last year, 3 of the 4 games where Jordan Reed was out, Vernon Davis was a beast, and he was a beast yet again.
The running back situation in Washington is sort of a mess. Minus 1 player.
It is secured now.
Samaje Perine was forced from week 3. Not only did he fumble, but he fumbled because a helmet destroyed his hand, and then on the way down from that same tackle, he proceeded to be blown up and was bleeding from the mouth and bit his tongue or something. So it was not a great exit from the game for Perine, and he didn't really have.
No, it was not a great game.
He didn't show much.
And you know that Gruden, like Samaje Perine, could have broken his hand on that hit. We're not sure yet what the full extent of the damage is. But you know that Jay Gruden is like,
there's no excuse.
You have to hold on to the ball.
We don't forget broken hands.
Coach, his helmet broke my hand. I don't care.
Yeah, this is
why didn't you have two hands on it?
I will never forget.
This is a great time to get Rob Kelley.
Yeah, his role is, I think, very secure.
Yep. All right, Darren Sproles. This might be the end for Darren Sproles.
When you were describing the whole thing that went down to Samaje, all I could think of was Darren Sproles.
Yeah.
The same play.
He said, you know what, Samaje? Try a torn ACL and a broken arm on the same play.
How does that happen? Did he get hit by a truck?
Yeah, it was bad. There was audible cursing, and you're like, this. He was holding his knee. You knew it was really bad, but so this is
career.
I mean, this is probably the end for Darren Sproles. He had already talked about retiring. I mean, that guy is an absolute stud.
What a career.
We'll love you forever, Darren Sproles.
Yeah, what a career. All right, Michael Crabtree, chest injury in Week 3 in that train wreck of a game for the Raiders last night. Pretty much hung out to dry by Derek Carr on that throw because he had him wide open. Instead, he airmails him. He goes up.
How was that
and
not
he
a
gets crushed.
flag?
For what?
With the Crabtree hit. I mean,
because he didn't target the head. I mean,
but it was a hit on a defenseless receiver.
You can hit him. You just can't hit him like that.
Okay.
In the head. So I thought it was a pretty clean hit.
I'm saying like old
6
football,
feet in the air.
Old football rules are like, yeah, that's a normal hit, but I feel like in today's NFL, that gets flagged all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't – the thing about Crabtree on that play is he was going up. He was not coming across the field where you were blindsiding him. He was going up. The ball hit his hands, and the hit happened at the same time, and Crabtree is now out with a chest injury, and we'll see what happened. Crabtree's got to be at the top of the list of players that essentially lost you the week. So he lost me the week, but I had a lot of tweets of people saying, I just need 0.4 more points from Crabtree or another catch. Doug Baldwin exited the fourth quarter of the Titans game with a groin injury. Ian Rappaport said that he's going to have an MRI. Early word is that it's not serious, but who's the beneficiary there in Seattle? I mean, is it Lockett? Is it Richardson? Is it nobody? I mean,
I think Richardson would be the primary beneficiary. I mean, they all basically just take a step up. Richardson, Lockett, even Jimmy Graham would all just have to get a bump up in targets, maybe a little bit more. Luke Wilson.
Maybe. And we know what we found out. All Jimmy Graham wants in life is just a big hug.
He wants to jump over people.
He leapt into
he wants
the
to
arms.
jump into their arms. He doesn't want to hurdle them. He just wants to kind of say, carry me.
Yeah, that was
if
very
you didn't
funny.
see that play, he goes to hurdle this guy who doesn't go under, and he stands up, and then it's basically Jimmy Graham just jumping into his arms.
It
looked so funny.
Hey, Brooks, can you check on this for me? Russell Wilson. I believe he had a career high in passing yardage. Did he not?
Yes, he did for sure.
So that's why I asked the question. I mean, you throw for a career high in passing yardage against Tennessee, and you lose your best receiver.
Well, he had, 10 catches for over 100 yards by the time he went out.
Yeah. So I'm there are players now 3 weeks into the season that maybe you're bailing on, or maybe it's your flex play. Maybe you've got Terrell Pryor like me, and you wonder, do I play him or do I stream somebody else? Because Pryor looked downright disinterested last night.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor.
I mean, his routes were pathetic. He was the 19th read for Kirk Cousins, it looked like. And then when he did target him, he didn't make the play, so I don't know. He just has so many other options. Ryan Grant was getting targets ahead of Pryor last night. I'm very disappointed in that. And I basically said, this is the week. This is make or break for Pryor. You either perform against Oakland or fantasy owners have to reevaluate the position that they put him in. And just to get into it briefly, and I believed in Pryor hugely, right? Pryor, Decker, Ginn. I mean, Ginn had a touchdown this week, but he had 2 receptions, and through 3 weeks, you wouldn't be happy. All of these receivers, this is something that is
the team changers?
The team changers. When you move teams, all we do as fantasy analysts is put the rose-colored glasses on and say, what if? What if this player did everything that he's ever been capable for in this better situation? I did it with Pryor. Pryor impressed in preseason and in camp, and it hasn't translated.
Yep.
I think maybe we underestimate the rapport built by receivers and quarterbacks over time, because Decker isn't on the same page with Mariota right now either.
He was for the first half of the game, and then they just completely went away from him. I thought the dream was going to happen. I thought the 80 and the touchdown was actually a possibility.
All right.
You did have a good game from Deshaun Jackson, and Alshon has shown some good rapport. So, I don't think changing teams is a universal, bad thing, but it does. There's something to be said for sure of guys that are in the same system that you already know that have played there for 4 years with the same quarterback, and that I prefer that kind of continuity versus new hotness.
Well, and the best example would be it's not that they can't, it's that they're more attractive to fantasy owners than saying, let's just draft Emmanuel Sanders. Nobody wants to go draft what you know. You always want to draft what you think could be, and that's the problem some of the time. All right. Kelvin Benjamin suffered a knee injury in the game. Jason basically was going to start Kelvin Benjamin and said, the concern is the injury. Well,
this injury was not related to his previous injury. It was his leg got caught under him being tackled. It looked really bad. The reports are he has escaped a major injury.
He's, quote, fine, end quote.
I mean, that's, like Bradford.
Yeah. But Kelvin Benjamin, that is just really, really lucky if he have escaped a major injury on
I believe Devin Funchess set a career high in targets this week with 10. I think he only came down with 3 of them.
That's about normal for Funchess.
Things are not looking good for that offense right now.
Cam Newton has been poor all season. That's to put it nicely. He had a couple touchdowns in week 1 and 2 that really were not his doing at all. They just, it was like a little screen pass to Jonathan Stewart that goes in the record book as a touchdown pass. Cam has been horrific, and he's not running the ball.
This is the same as prior this week. It was if Cam – someone asked me, do you start Cam or somebody else? I'm like, if you don't start Cam against the Saints, you can't start Cam. Well, you probably can't start Cam now.
No, you cannot – I don't know – and people ask,
not when Case Keenum's out there available on the waiver wire.
Do I drop Cam? I probably would, just because of how I handle quarterbacks. But Cam, he's not healthy.
Yeah, that's what you said, Mike. You said, and to his credit, he just doesn't look healthy.
I'm not a big Cam Newton believer. I don't think he's a great quarterback. But on top of that, he's still not healthy. So that's another to put in the notebook is these quarterbacks who are missing the preseason. They're having off-season shoulder surgery. They're not ready to go for training camp.
Hasn't worked out this year.
Lo and behold, they don't come back and just set the world on fire. But that brings up Andrew Luck, who is supposedly going to be returning to practice this week. So let's say he comes and he's in the game 2 or 3 weeks from now.
He's supposed to start week 6 is what we're hearing.
Let's say he starts week 6. Based on what we're seeing from some of these other players missing time, coming back, not looking like themselves, are you worried about starting him in week 6 if he's the starter?
I would start Andrew Luck. I would.
I think you should be worried. I don't know what the matchup is off the top of my head.
If he comes back, look, they've babied him, right? They babied him back. He's going to practice.
Baby back.
I would start Andrew Luck because I think the weapons that he's surrounded by.
Baby back real. Sorry.
No.
I had to do it.
Some of your favorite.
I just love food.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon left, came back, knee injury that had been bothering him was re-aggravated in this game. Jay Ajayi had a poor game as well, and he's had some recurring knee troubles.
Yeah, he also had just a super nasty body slam to start the beginning of the game where it looked like his leg got wrenched a bit, so that could have impacted his now very poopy drawers.
Yeah, poor game does not cover it there.
Matt Forte left with a toe injury. Willie Snead's 3-game suspension is now over, something to be aware of. And we're going to get into the stud muffins. Before we do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Pristine Auction. Do you know what I can do on Pristine Auction, guys?
What can you do?
Well, I can go in there and I can type in George Springer's name. You want to know why I do that?
Why?
Because George Springer won me a fantasy baseball championship yesterday. And
George.
I went over to Pristine Auction, and this is the beauty of Pristine Auction's website, is whenever a player has endeared themselves to your heart, You can type their name in, and there's a signed, framed George Springer jersey. Houston Astro hit a homer last night, won me a fantasy championship. There's a signed George Springer bat on there.
Don't care.
And so I'm a fantasy baseball championship. I'm going to celebrate with pristine auction. I'm going to go buy myself a George Springer jersey, put it up, and then mock my friends in that league, many of them Foot Clan members that I can now spend the next year mocking. So pristine auction is the best place. If you have a player that you love, you're going to find a signed, authentic jersey, ball, bat, whatever it is, at pristineauction.com, Pristine auction.com.
Yeah, and want to thank ZipRecruiter today. Look, if you are hiring, if you're in a company that is growing, how you choose to hire employees is the difference maker for the success or failure of your company. Finding the right candidates is pretty much the most important thing you can do. Thankfully, with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click, and their powerful technology, it efficiently matches all the right people to your job, and it does that better than anybody else. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within just 24 hours. There's no juggling emails or calls to the office. You simply screen, rate, manage candidates all in one place. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/footballers. That's ZipRecruiter.com/footballers. One more time, try it free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/footballers.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Oh, Tommy Brady. Tommy, you are very, very good at football. 25 for 35, 378, and 5 touchdowns.
He was pretty selfish this week, to be fair.
Brady was?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got Mike Gillislee.
He's hogging all those touchdowns.
Oh, man, I was really enjoying listening to the radio broadcast of the Patriots-Houston game and listening to the announcer mispronounce Gillilee.
Oh, yeah. I
Gillilee?
What was it?
It was Gillingsley or something.
Oh, it was bad.
It was not Mike Gillisley.
Gilly.
Russell
Did you do
Wilson,
that?
4 touchdowns. Case Keenum. Oh, my goodness. Okay, nobody started him. I was looking this up. Actually, one of our writers sent this over to me, and here is the ownership percentage of some of the top 12 quarterbacks this week. Case Keenum is owned in 0.4% of leagues. Brissett, 0.8%. Bortles, 1.7%. Hoyer, 0.6%. Kaiser, 5.1%. Well done, Kaiser. And Goff, 7.1%.
Now, the reason you're reading those names is because those are all QB1s.
Yeah, those are all top 12 quarterbacks this week.
All of those names finished above Drew Brees, who threw 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
That is correct.
Also, Tom Brady is on pace for 5,800 yards and 43 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. Just throwing that out there.
He has not thrown a pick on the year?
Correct.
Yeah. I'm impressed. Considering you lose Edelman and you go out and you're Tom Brady. It's amazing that when Tom Brady's Tom Brady, we're surprised, but sometimes it's amazing. Russell Wilson, Case Keenum, Blake Bortles, like I said. Eli Manning turned that game around, 35 for 47.
Did he?
For 3.
Yes.
Or did Odell Beckham turn that game around?
35 for 47 for 366 and 3. Brandon Marshall had a great game.
Shepard
had a great game. Shepard is definitely in the waiver consideration. Second out of 3 games that he's had 7 receptions. Had a huge touchdown. Look, Manning got it done. Beckham got it done for him, but that's a piece of the puzzle that you got there. And Eli Manning took care of business. Aaron Rodgers had another great game. Jacoby Brissett took care of business versus Cleveland. And Drew Brees, as Jason mentioned. What is the –
Did we even mention Jared Goff?
Because
he's there too.
Yeah, Jared Goff's there as well. Tyrod Taylor, against all odds, in Denver, 20 for 26 for 213 and 2. Against Denver, facing Denver. Guys, fantasy relevant. I mean, who are you looking for from this list of surprise candidates to maybe be a streamer next week, or maybe be somebody that replaces Cam Newton on your roster?
I think that you got to be careful because chasing points is always a dangerous dance to perform in. Case Keenum, though, gets to play against Detroit. I know that they had a bunch of turnovers against Matt Ryan, but those were those fluky turnovers where it's just bouncing off of the wide receiver's hands, and the defense capitalizes. So Case Keenum, as long as he is at home in his dome, that's funny. I think that he's at home in the dome. I think that he's an okay option of these guys, because I'm like Jacoby Brissett versus Seattle, no thanks. Hoyer versus Arizona, no thanks.
I think I would probably go with Tom Brady. I'm going to stick with Tom. I'm going to stick with Tom Brady. No, if I was to pick one of the lower end guys to repeat, I'm going to stick with Tyrod Taylor. I mean, we've seen it forever. When he is a starter, he's usually a top 12 quarterback because he runs so much. He's got that baseline. And, next week I think it's on the road in Atlanta. So that's going to have a high scoring. Tyrod's going to have to run and try to keep up with the Falcons.
What about Watson?
Yeah, Watson
Deshaun Watson, was that more a product of Deshaun Watson, or was that already the combination of the Patriots' pass defense is really bad?
Well, the Patriots' pass defense and defense in general is a work in progress. It was also a product of they have to abandon the game plan that you set out to have as a Houston Texans team when you're facing Tom Brady and Foxborough and points are going to be on the board. So I'm not sure that they're going to let him.
But he was very successful.
He was great. No, he was.
No,
he
but
was.
I
if they
agree
have
with
a lead,
what Andy's saying is that's not what they want to do.
They want a lead
Watson
to hold with Deontay Foreman and Lamar Miller.
And a shout out here. I don't know who was doing it, but the color commentator for the Texans game, he uttered these words that Bill O'Brien is one of the most aggressive play callers in the NFL. So I mean, what's happening here? We need a better vetting process for these commentators, because Bill O'Brien is not aggressive. And in fact, on the play where they were commending Bill O'Brien for being aggressive for going on 4th and 2, they called a timeout and then they punted.
Because he heard the broadcast.
Yeah.
He said, watch this. All right, look, welcome back, Jordan Howard. Welcome back, DeMarco Murray.
Jordan Howard.
I hope you bought him low when we told you to.
Jordan Howard, this game looked so incredibly meaty and beefy. People were bouncing
like
off
a new
him.
Wendy's burger.
No, I had told Jason, I said, this guy, he found a vial of gummy bear juice.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the reference, and he drank it, and people were just
bouncing
off of him. I mean, not phasing him.
And you want to talk about tough. I mean, the guy's got a separated shoulder. You could tell it's hurting him. He's he's going down the left sideline, and it's his right shoulder that's hurt. And so when contact comes, he turns, 180 degrees to hit him with his left shoulder. The dude's just tough, and he is really good. I think you can trust both Howard and Tariq Cohen, going forward.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of pass-catching weapons in Chicago. You got to lean on both of those guys tremendously. It's great to see Howard come back to form. Now, I think there might have been people that didn't play him this week.
A lot of people did not play him.
I would say if you didn't play him this week, but you didn't trade him, just be happy.
Yeah.
Because you had to take a gamble that, maybe he wasn't going to be involved. But look, be happy. You've got a running back, 2 touchdowns, 23 carries.
That's exactly how I feel about DeMarco Murray. I would have been more inclined to sit DeMarco in this game in a bad matchup against Seattle where he was, out for the week and you've got Derrick Henry behind him. But at the same time, if you've got him, he looked good. He was absolutely fine. The hamstring did not appear to be an issue, so I'd be happy he's on my roster.
We've talked about Kareem Hunt. Huge game, 17 for 172 and a touchdown, including his 3rd straight game with 50-plus yard touchdown. Dalvin Cook was great, 27 for 97 and a touchdown. I want to touch for a second on Chris Thompson. Okay? Look, when you look at the total touches, 8 rushing attempts, 6 receptions, which was great. I'll be the first to admit, look, I told people you cannot trust him because the touches weren't there. 3 times in his 3.5-year career has he had more than 5 receptions. Well, it's 4 now, and he went for 150 and a touchdown. At this point in time, we have a saying on this show. It's stay in the flames, and the flames are burning around Chris Thompson. So with Perine's injury, clearly Rob Kelley's going to be eased back when he's back. You got to play him.
Well, and I think this is also he is the benefactor of Terrell Pryor stinks. And Josh Doxson is, he had the one reception. It was a huge touchdown, which Josh Doxson is going to be on the waiver wire show because he is ascending. But Cousins, he can't trust his wide receivers right now. I mean, Jamison Crowder he's been okay, but I mean, Chris Thompson is the safety valve, and he's getting it done. Why would he not continue to dump off to Thompson?
Yeah, and the big plays have earned him, a guaranteed role.
Yeah, when we were saying, we don't like the touches, that was when he had a grand total combined touches of 6. If he was getting 14 touches a game like he did this last game, then you could certainly rely on him to when he touches the ball on a screen, his probability of going 20 yards is I feel like it's every time. He's great. So I think you stay in the Flames with
it's just funny because, Gurley, 33 touches, right? Howard, 28 touches. Here's Thompson with 14, which is probably upwards of his career high, and still dynamic. Is he number 3 running back on the year now?
Yes, on the year, number 3.
Well, it also shows you how valuable pass catching is in the NFL, especially compared to a rush.
Yeah, look at what Buck Allen was. Not this week. No, he'll be in a different segment. But in previous weeks, if you can catch the ball out of the backfield, James White, again, not this week.
Yeah.
But it is valuable when it happens. Duke Johnson, a great example of that. He scored on the ground with only had 2 carries, but he had 6 for 81 on 7 targets through the air. Duke Johnson might have been the actual biggest beneficiary of the Coleman injury and what's happening in the wide receiver corps. Similar situation as to the lack of trust you have in Washington. Lev Bell bounced back, scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
that offense is still not there.
It's not what you want from Lev Bell, but it was still a good game.
Lev Bell's just not used to playing these early weeks. Week 1, week 2, week 3. He's like, I usually come in about week 4 or 5.
I'm normally in the suspended state.
That's not a joke.
So,
Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, good games. Christian McCaffrey had 9 for 101 through the air. So we thought he might receive a ton of targets in Greg Olson's absence, and that's what we saw. Kelvin Benjamin being hurt doesn't stop McCaffrey. So I think he's a target right now because I think he had a good week. He didn't score. It wasn't an over-the-top week. I think you could probably acquire McCaffrey cheaper than what he's worth. That's my own opinion. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs. We're going to talk about him in a minute. We've got the Raising Cane's Rising Stars on today's show. Hint, hint. Brandon Cooks, Sammy Watkins, T.Y. Hilton. Start your studs, right? T.Y. Hilton, 7 for 153 and a touchdown.
It worked. Yeah, it definitely worked out this week to start your studs of T.Y.
Jacoby Brissett is a good enough quarterback to at least get a great wide receiver going. Now they've had a couple weeks together. Yeah, in a good matchup.
Like Seattle.
Seattle next.
In Seattle, are you going to start T.Y. Hilton?
How do you not start him after 7 for 153 and 1? I think you start your studs.
Okay.
Wait, you want to go chase Robbie Anderson or Jermaine Kearse?
It always depends on who is on your bench. And
all right, Sterling Shepard against Tampa or T.Y. Hilton against Seattle. Seattle, they got beat up. Yeah, they've been getting beat up a little bit.
They have. Not at home, though.
Yeah, but they played the 49ers at home.
Yeah. And with the 49ers, you're talking about that super juggernaut offense that we saw on Thursday?
Yep.
It's the NFL. Crazy things happen week to week.
AJ Green.
I'm just saying that Hilton. That's going to be a tough start next week.
The squeaky wheel got the grease. 10 catches for AJ Green.
The squeaky wheel greased the offensive coordinator out of town.
Yeah, 10 for 111 and a touchdown. Has Cleveland next week.
Oh,
looking good. Antonio Brown was great. Doug Baldwin was great before the injury. Chris Hogan again, 2 touchdowns.
When Tom Brady throws 5 touchdowns, all the wide receivers are going to be just fine.
And then Jordy Nelson returned from injury and was outstanding. Nice to see Michael Thomas have a good game this week. He hadn't really flashed at all this season after being a high draft pick. We've talked about Garcon on Thursday night. It was great. And then Tyreek still has that rapport with Alex Smith. It seems to be growing. Could end up as the wide receiver 1 this year at the back end. 5 for 77 and a touchdown, possible. 8 targets.
Do you have my special song for my man Devontae Parker?
Oh.
Do we have that ready? Is that loaded up?
That's great. We do.
Oh, the garbage man.
Yes! There is Devontae Parker.
There's a new level of garbage in the world. If you did not watch that albatross of a Miami Dolphins New York Jets game,
that was a majestic performance. The last 60 seconds of that game were incredible.
I mean, you're talking about.
This is your start of the week, Mike. Did you make some phone calls to the offensive coordinator?
You're darn right.
With a minute left to go in the game, Devontae Parker was a complete and utter bust. The Miami Dolphins had done nothing. They were shut out. The game was over. And for some reason, they're still on the field. And they're still, pad the stats. And then it goes to Parker. 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 And then
with 6 seconds
left, when they get stopped inbounds, and they're down 20-0 near the goal line.
With 6 seconds left.
They call a timeout.
You're darn right they do. because nobody
never
wants,
give up.
No, nobody wants a shutout.
Then kick a field goal.
No, but that's the cowardly way. You at least go for it. You go big.
Yeah, so he got the touchdown on the last second. You know who didn't get a touchdown on the last second, who also was great? Golden Tate, which I apologize to all Lions fans out there. If you're not aware of what happened at the end of that game.
They are.
Well, to other non-Lions fans, if you're not aware of what happened, that was incredible. Golden Tate has this great game, goes 7 for 58 and a touchdown. I think probably 2 touchdowns, but whatever. At the end of the game, They battle back. The Lions come back, and they throw a touchdown to Golden Tate as the clock is basically expiring. I think there was like 8 seconds left, and they win the game. And then on further review, they look at the touchdown, and they determine that he was about an inch short of the touchdown. And due to rule, there's a 10-second runoff. The game is over. They did not score, and they lost.
There was 8 seconds left.
I know.
If they had just ruled him down,
then you get up.
The Lions, it would have been a rush, but I think there is a great possibility that they could have at least got a play. They could have got the ball snapped because they were all right there. Just saying, like that's got to feel like an absolute hosing that you've never felt before.
Tight end studs. Rob Gronkowski once again 8 for 89 and a touchdown on 10 targets. And then
how dare you skip the number 1 tight end?
Yeah, Mercedes Lewis has had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 years, and he ended up with 3 in this game, 4 for 62.
Pick him up.
No. Hopefully in your league, here's what you hope for with Mercedes Lewis. Somebody else picks him up.
And plays him against you.
And drops a better tight end.
I think we're at the point where the Jaguars, when they fly over the ocean, they go through some kind of magical portal, and they turn into
a real.
Did you know they applied to become the London Jaguars?
If they become the London Jaguars, I'm drafting all of them. Give me
Super
all
Bowl.
the Leonard Fournette. Because really, it's no joke. Like every time they go to London, all of a sudden they know how to play football.
Well, the announcer was even saying early in the game, he's like, Baltimore didn't get to be on this field and try their cleats out and figure out what Wembley's like, and Jacksonville has been there multiple times and played overseas. And apparently he was right.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Baltimore, just wear your short cleats. It's going to work out for you. Don't even worry about it, guys. Let's play football.
It's a really nice field.
Where are these ice skates?
Check it out.
Where are these ice skates? Over in London, you wear ice skates on the field. Ryan Griffin had a nice game. Vernon Davis, we talked about him. Charles Clay showed up against Denver, 6 for 39 and a touchdown.
Ryan Griffin, I don't want to just gloss over him. I think that he is a name that's worth talking about because he's the last man standing right now, and Ryan Griffin has gotten it done before in the passing game. So 5 for 61 with a touchdown, gets to play Tennessee. Just saying, he's absolutely worth keeping your eye on.
Absolutely. Okay. And Zach Ertz is the second best tight end in
he's a
fantasy
stud.
football.
Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
All right, who's your Raising Cane's Rising Star of the Week?
I'm staying in those flames. We already talked about it, but Chris Thompson, we've gotten to the point where you cannot ignore it. The talent has always been there. The opportunity simply has not. But Kirk Cousins has to rely on Chris Thompson. The play that he turned into the almost near 70-yard touchdown, whatever it was. I believe that was like the third.
It was 3rd and 19.
I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous that a defense would allow that to happen. Number one, but they're gonna keep going back to him. It's 3 weeks in a row now of huge plays from Chris Thompson. He is turning into their X factor weapon. So I'm staying in the Flames. I understand you're not going to get 10 carries out of him, but if you're getting those 5-6 receptions, then good things are going to happen.
If you're in one of the 16% of leagues that he has not signed, how much fab do you spend on Chris Thompson?
It's man,
I
don't know.
To be honest, I still wouldn't drop a ton. He's a guy that
this is
I
just
think
if you paid for him and he's on your roster,
I would probably spend 10%.
I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs as my Raising Cane's Rising Star, and that is simply because, look, he was bad last week with Keenum, and this shows me that you cannot play the game with Diggs on your roster. You've got to keep him in there. 178 yards and 2 touchdowns with Case Keenum. He seems to be matchup proof. Here's the thing: every wide receiver has a bad game,
right?
But this was a prove it game to me. Whereas I kind of thought you couldn't. I thought it was hands off Thielen and Diggs until Bradford returns, and I think this was a prove it game for Diggs. So he fits my rising star in the fact that, look, the talent's always been there, but we're talking about start confidence.
I say, are you putting Stephon Diggs in a start your studs category?
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he did the same thing that Hilton did. He proved that I don't want to play the game where 1 week I'm trying to keep him in, 1 week I'm taking him out, and I'm chasing points with somebody else, and all of a sudden Rashad Higgins is in my lineup. How embarrassing would that be?
Yeah. I'm going to go with my rising star as Joe Mixon.
Probably the most important one on this list.
I tried to get into our show doc early last night. I'm like, oh, yes. There's no way that Jason has gone into the doc yet, and I will steal his beloved Joe Mixon. And there he was, already in Jason's spot.
I already claimed him. Here's the thing. He didn't get a touchdown. He wasn't in our Stud Muffins category because even though he had a fine game, he had 101 all-purpose yards, 21 total touches between his 18 carries and 3 receptions. But the volume is what really matters here. You saw a changeover at the offensive coordinator, and I do worry about the ceiling for Mixon because when they get in – the 2-minute drill type offense or the third and passing situations, it does seem to be Gio. And when it's a very short yardage situation, it still might be Hill. So I'm not saying he's going to be the next, great thing. But you can now start Joe Mixon. And if he's getting 20 touches a game, I think he's going to have those games that are huge, big blow-up games like you've seen from all these other rookies, from Fournette and Cook and
here's his snaps.
Kareem Hunt.
Here's his snap percentage. Week 1, 36%. Week 2, 25%. Week 3, 56%.
Yeah, and that happened because of the changeover at offensive coordinator. He is clearly the best running back there. He's the highest graded on Pro Football Focus. And he plays the Browns next week.
Yeah, fire him up.
Yeah, that's great. I am sad I couldn't get him from you this week, Jason, because I liked it. And then you could have played Jacquizz Rodgers like I did.
I could have.
Yeah, that was fun.
I won.
Those were the Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week. Remember that game day tastes better with Raising Cane's tailgates, full of fresh 24-hour marinated hand-battered chicken fingers and fresh brewed sweet tea. Visit RaisingCanes.com to find your nearest location.
Double up on the sauce, people.
Yep. All right, moving on.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
What's the opposite of sending in the car?
Oh, slashing the tires.
Send it off the cliff? I mean, what in the world?
Park the car?
The
I believe would be the
park the car?
Yeah.
Well, my start of the week in Derek Carr did not work out.
It's like you handed the keys to the valet and he drove it off of a cliff.
That was insane.
I wasn't even – here's how insane it was. I wasn't sure I could make Derek Carr my start of the week because I thought it was too obvious and that
You asked the question.
Who wouldn't be starting Derek Carr? But,
against Washington.
Like, okay, I'll take the gimme. And they didn't show up. I mean, the entire Oakland offense looked horrific. And this week there were a couple of teams, the Ravens when they went to London and the Raiders when they flew across the country to Washington. Those two teams looked like they did not show up.
They took an early bye week.
Well, look, I don't know if it's that simple to just I think that this game came down to the offensive line for the first time and the defensive line of the Redskins, which was dominant. I mean, never once last year did he have I don't think he was sacked more than once in a game all of last season. He was sacked 3 times in this game. Never sacked on back-to-back plays. He was sacked back-to-back plays in the beginning of this game. Marshawn Lynch at times was standing on the sideline during the active game, no helmet on, wearing his snow beanie,
bizarre.
while other players were on the field. It was a peculiar game. It was a game where you could not get into an offensive rhythm whatsoever. And now you go to Denver. You finally get those interdivisional matchups that we feared for Oakland offensive players in general, which was you're going to play KC twice, you're going to play Denver twice. Now you're going to be in Denver. You got to take a week off with Derek Carr, especially if Crabtree is out.
I completely agree. This was our concern about.
He's got Baltimore the week after
I was
that.
going to say it's a couple weeks.
If you're going to draft a quarterback high, it's because you're taking him, saying this is my weekly starter. I don't have to worry about it. I'll take some lumps. Everyone has some bad games, but that was the problem with Derek Carr is that you thought he was a great starter in Washington, but he's not startable in Denver. Not to me.
No.
His divisional game.
And then if he has 2 straight games in a row that are bad, can you start him in Baltimore?
No. And then if he doesn't do well in Baltimore because of the great D, he goes again 2 more divisional games, the Chargers and the Chiefs. In division has been where he's struggled the most.
Troubled.
What was that stat you heard yesterday on Matthew Stafford, by the way? What was about his winning?
I don't remember the exact win percentage, but it was
like 5
Matthew Stafford against winning teams. That was Mitchell Renz, who does some writing for us. It
was like 5 and 200.
I mean, it was
like 5 and 43, something like that.
Yeah, right around there against winning teams.
All right, Joe Flacco
in his career
stunk. Hopefully, you did not start him. I don't think anybody should have, would have, could have against Jacksonville, but he was.
But still, I mean,
it doesn't get worse than this.
This was pretty much as bad as Andy Dalton's game week 1.
28 yards, 2 interceptions, and pulled.
How do you have
Mallett.
28 passing yards? How is it even possible?
Yeah. I'm telling you, you might – I think you're right, Andy, to kind of pump the brakes on what I was saying with the Raiders not showing up, that there was more to that. There was credit due to Washington. But in this game, when I was watching this London game at 6 in the morning, it really looked like the Baltimore Ravens as a team were ill-prepared for that trip. And that's not to take anything away from the Jaguars, but, I mean, to a man, every single player looked very bad. They just looked tired and groggy and, not ready for this game at all.
The way that their defense had turned the ball over in the first 2 weeks masked a lack of offensive ability, and it masked Joe Flacco not being ready to play or not being in a groove, and now you see it. And Jeremy Maclin is another one of those guys that switch teams, and it's hard to just imbue a bunch of fantasy points to, especially with the way Joe Flacco's playing. I'd be worried about Maclin, and I'd be worried about leaning on a Watson or anything like that, even though Watson scored at the very end of this game with Ryan Mallett. Trouble. Phillip Rivers, not a good game. Expected a lot better performance against Kansas City. 20 for 40, 237 and 3. Did not look good. The eye test was bad. Cam Newton, we talked about him. And Trevor Siemian, not a good performance. 24 for 40. One nasty, nasty interception that I just across your body, bad decision.
Mike called this.
It's just he has weapons, and I don't believe that he had leveled up to the point where you can start him on the road.
He was one of the most signed players last week.
Like this week at home against Oakland, I'm all about that life, but I'm not ready for Trevor Siemian to start on his away games.
All right. In the running back poopers segment, I'm going to ask you guys whether you're buying low on any of these players. Jay Ajayi.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you could, I would, yeah.
He's been pretty bad. I mean, this was 11 for 16.
He's only played 2 games, and he was great week 1.
Yeah, he was horrific this week, but that's when you're able to buy low on a guy.
Marshawn Lynch, 6 for 18. Terrible.
I don't think I would buy low. I mean, it was so bizarre. I mean, you already kind of touched on it, Andy, but it was like, we're losing. I'm not going to play. or the coaches are said, well, we're going to put Washington and Rashard in. I mean, he doesn't get enough volume. I mean, when they're losing, if they're saying, okay, we're going to go to someone else, I mean, that's not what you want out of a top running back.
Yeah, he was not dancing this week.
No, he was not.
C.J. Anderson, I would he had a bad game.
I would definitely buy low.
But he had the same snaps as he had last week. Jamal Charles definitely performed very well again, confirming kind of the eye test that we've seen throughout the season, which is Jamal Charles looks fine. And if CJ ever got hurt, I think Jamal would be great. So I think it's just one of those games where the touches didn't match the snaps. Last week, I believe he had double the touches on the same amount of snaps. It didn't happen for them this week. The game flow was different. That's what it comes down to.
I think, and they
were playing from ahead last week.
They thought they could beat the Bills a particular way. And it did not work out.
Isaiah Crowell.
Panic.
This is sound the alarm.
Yeah,
time.
hit the alarm. This was the matchup against the Browns and his counterpart, Duke Johnson.
Against the Colts.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Brooks.
He wishes he was playing the Browns.
Why can't I? I'm so good in practice.
But Duke Johnson had a great game, looked fantastic. What, Andy, can you even play Crowell? I'm not even talking about buying low.
My two starting running backs in our league of record against Jason were Jaquiz Rodgers and James White. So I'm searching for Isaiah Crowells in the world. Apparently, I can't start a running back. I don't think he's a droppable guy.
No, I would not drop him.
But you're super disappointed because this was another, like the previous games we talked about, this was a make-or-break game against Indianapolis.
Would you sell him low? That's,
Would I sell him low? I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah,
what you're getting back isn't going to be worth it unless you're. I mean,
you don't sell starting.
I mean, can you get Doug Martin? Yeah, if you could go get Doug Martin in his Isaiah Crowell trade,
right? If you're packaging to trade up at the running back position, then sure, use him as a piece of that package. But don't get rid of a starting running back and just sell low and grab a wide receiver. I wouldn't do that.
Jaquiz Rodgers was terrible, 5 for 15. The game flow was disastrous for them because as soon as they got behind, they had to put in Charles Sims, and they basically just had to throw the ball 40 passes for Jameis Winston. And then bad performances from the two New England backs, Gillislee and White. Nothing, pretty much. And then Riddick and Perine. Perine did as little as you can with 19 carries as is possible. And Riddick just didn't get it done.
Yeah, he did not.
What do you think? And Buck Allen. I mean, Buck Allen, it was incredible because you wake up on Sunday morning, everybody was already starting Buck Allen, and then you get a notice. Like if you're playing on an ESPN league, you get like a special ESPN update, and it says, Javorius Allen set to start. And then you didn't see him on the field. It was Alex Collins and Terrence West for the whole game. It was like a little
It's almost
knife
like
poke.
They don't like him.
I don't know what they like. They didn't come to London. They didn't bring anything to the table fantasy-wise this week. I don't know what to think about it.
I agree. I will not. You don't want to overreact, but also looking at the facts of they didn't want him on the team at all last year. They had to use him those first couple weeks, and they went and they grabbed Alex Collins.
He looked okay,
and Alex Collins is getting play in front of Buck Allen. I mean, they're trying everything they can to not use Buck Allen.
Do you cut Thomas Rawls and Adrian Peterson?
Yes.
Are they both droppable?
Yes.
Do you cut and drop Jeremy Hill based on the rising star and what you've got so far?
Yes, Jeremy Hill can be cut.
All right. Wide receivers that pooped their pants. Amari Cooper and Crabtree.
It's very eloquent
yes,
the way you.
These two pooped prior. What? You know what's amazing, Jay?
What?
All my players are on these poop in my big boy pants.
And I am very thankful for that because we had a head-to-head matchup.
I just need like 18 field goals from Dan Bailey tonight and I'm set. Terrell Pryor, 2 for 19. 6 catches for Crowder in that offense. Josh Doxson caught the bomb. First sighting of Josh Doxson in his career so far. I disagree with Mike on the ascendant.
No, I'm not talking like this is not an immediate thing, but the snaps have gone up every week.
Gotcha.
Ryan Grant's snaps are going down.
Gotcha.
And he started the game. He was
an
announced
I'm just saying
starter.
At this point with how bad Terrell Pryor has been connecting with Kirk Cousins,
sure.
I think that Josh Doctson is worth a speculation. This isn't a pick him up and play him. This is a
peek him up.
Peek him up. This is
This ain't no peek him up.
You grab him, you sit him on the bench, and it wouldn't be shocking. Like, he's still a first-round talent.
I got you.
And the team, part of why the team said, okay, we can move on from Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson is because they planned on Josh Doctson filling that role.
Sure.
So
more poopers. Jeremy Maclin, Martavis Bryant, Tyrell Williams, Dante Moncrief. Also some, Marvin Jones didn't get it done. Galladay hasn't shown up since week 1. This was the risk about the snaps for Kenny Galladay. The leading, I asked these guys yesterday. I said, who's the leading receiver? Who led the team in receiving yards for the Detroit Lions? And they went through them all. Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, Theo Riddick, Amir Abdullah, Eric Ebron. Nope.
Kenny Galladay.
No. It's T.J. Jones.
of course.
The other Jones.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's not good. And then Travis Kelce. He said, thanks for starting me. Here's 1 catch for 1 yard.
Classic.
The old 1 for 1.
Classic.
He
Travis
wasn't going to
Kelce.
let that single target be dropped to the ground. He took that target and he brought it in. And we thank you for that. Travis.
How do we properly celebrate Hunter Henry's goose egg again?
Oh, man. Oh, fool me once. I mean, like, my rage drop of Hunter Henry felt so bad in week 2. And now we have 2 games. 2 games of 0, no targets. I mean, there's no way. There's no way I'm moving forward with Hunter Henry. I know that the tight end position is very inconsistent. It's hard to get those right.
I feel like it's worse this year because of the injuries at the top, because you don't have Eifert on the field, and Jimmy Graham was banged up, although he had a good week finally this week. But it feels worse. Jordan Reed's out. I mean, Kelce, you're not happy with 2/3 of his weeks, right? I mean,
correct.
At this point, Zach Ertz has been the most consistent with Gronkowski.
Yeah, Ertz has been a beast.
Rudolph, Doyle, Hooper, Ebron, Fleener, knocking himself out of that top 5, Jason, 1 for 21.
I hate Fleener.
Zach Miller was terrible. I played Evan Ingram this week. I mean, that was my option.
On the season, Evan Ingram is the tight end number what?
8?
9.
Yeah. Was that before this week?
Nope, that is including.
All right, any updates for the Monday night football game, the Cardinals and Cowboys?
I wanted to loop back to a question because he's in the pooper. Jamison Crowder. What's your temperature on Jamison Crowder?
Why was he in the pooper?
Because he was 6 for 52. I mean, Jamison Crowder.
6 catches is I mean, if Landry threw 6 for 52, I'd be like, oh, that's Jarvis Landry. I mean, just not scoring.
Okay, well, just saying that Crowder really has not.
No, that's a good question.
I'm talking like moving forward.
Yeah.
What is your confidence level with
Crowder? Is
rosterable, not startable.
I mean, I would say startable in a good matchup in a flex, but yeah, he's a rosterable guy. Wait and see.
What do you think, Mike?
I wouldn't drop him. Would you drop him?
No, I would not drop him. But I think I agree with that take of you hold him on your roster, but you bench him. But I mean, he's been, I guess all of Washington.
Kirk Cousins has been bad. I mean, I think that.
But Kirk Cousins was bad. He was bad the first 2 weeks. He was great last night, and Jamison Crowder was 50 yards.
Why didn't we mention Kirk Cousins in the Stud Muffins?
I don't know, Brooks.
What's up with that, Brooks?
Oh, Brooks.
What's up with that?
Brooks is on my team. I'm the anti-Washington offense guy.
Yeah.
Well,
although I did say I thought Kirk Cousins would have a good game.
Cousins was surgical last night. He was incredible last night. 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. Has only thrown 1 interception on the season. 37.4
and we're past
fantasy points.
We're past the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's Kirk Cousins' time. Le'Veon Bell and Kirk Cousins.
It's going to be a challenge next week for Kirk, though.
No way, man.
In Kansas
Chiefs
City.
on the road. He's Kirk Cousins.
I hear Arrowhead Stadium is like super easy to play in.
Very quiet, very tepid conditions. All right. We did have a voicemail question pertaining to the Monday Night Football game. I'm going to go ahead and play this one from Derek.
Hey, guys. It's Derek out in Hawaii. Kind of a weird question for you. You guys are Cardinals fans, as am I, but Carson Palmer's been pretty terrible the last few weeks, and right now I'm up by about 0.7 points. Only -1 for interceptions, but he's the last player to play, and I don't know when the stat corrections will come through. Thanks, guys.
As in, he's thinking about benching?
Yeah,
I believe that's the question.
I would play Carson Palmer.
Yes, you definitely play Carson Palmer for a
He's
myriad
at home,
of reasons.
and he actually he was okay last week.
Yeah, even if especially if you're only -1 for interceptions, he would have to basically throw a pick and then not play again the rest of the game.
Or Joe Flacco.
But regardless of that, if you were to just sit him,
you take a risk.
You brought up wisely the fact that you are aware of stat corrections. You are only up by less than a point. Thursday could come, and when the NFL stat corrections roll out to most fantasy platforms, all of a sudden you realize that the victory you thought you had turned into a loss. So you are not close enough, and the last and final reason is in most leagues, to get into the playoffs, the tiebreaker is going to be total points scored. So think big picture here and make sure you're scoring as much as you can.
Want to say thanks to Squad QL for sponsoring the show. Do you want that unfair advantage, helping you dominate? The Squad QL it's the mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals this year because they're helping you out, making those starting decisions based on your starters, bench players, the free agent pool. You can head to squadql.com to download the app for free. That's squadql.com and download the app for free.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the Waiver Wire show. Enjoy tonight's game between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. And thanks for tuning in. Check out playdraft.com/ballers if you want to get in on some DFS draft action. We'll catch you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.